Salutations YouTube, back with another Leafs report. Yesterday was actually the rare once a year, maybe twice a year matinee game. This one was the next generation game. So what they did was they kind of celebrated the next generation of Leafs players, Leafs fans, everything involved with hockey and the Leafs, which was really cool. So there was a lot of kids at the rink, obviously, watching the game, but they also had kids involved in the production as well. So before the game, there was a young boy who gave Babcock's kind of speech in the dressing room before the game and announced kind of the starting lineups, and the guys were all clapping and cheering and into it and stuff. And then there's a young girl named Abigail who was beside Chris Simpson for most of the night, kind of reporting from the sidelines. And then there was even a kid up in the PA booth at the start of the game announcing the lineups and stuff like that. And they all did a really good job. And they had lots of features, and it was all done in a video game style, like all the graphics and stuff. And they even had a Fortnite themed start where all the Leafs were kind of Fortnite characters, and the Storm came and was about to ravage the Scotiabank Center, and it was really neat. So but yeah, and I think last year they did this similar type of thing, a matinee game, but it was like not the Centennial game, but the I forget, but there was some special occasion to have this matinee game. And last year they destroyed Carolina during that game. And when this game started, it kind of right off the bat, it looked like it was going to be another beatdown. They were playing Minnesota at home, and Marner got the first goal of the game 7 seconds in, and then just over 5 minutes later, he added another one. Both were really nice goals, and it looked like the Leafs were off to the races. But then, and they kept it up for most of the first period. But in the latter bit of it, the Wild didn't even up. They cut into the lead by scoring their first goal of the game, making it 2-1 Leafs. And then for the second period, they just kind of, the game turned into a really scrambly kind of affair, and the Leafs couldn't really get much going in the second. And the Wild chipped away and brought it to 2-2. But then Nylander got his first goal since returning to the lineup after his holdout, which was enormous for him and for everybody, of course. Made it 3-2 Leafs, but then the Wild chipped away at it again. And by the time they headed into the third period, it was 3-3. And you just didn't know which way the game was going to go. The good part was that the Leafs looked like they were going to take it in the third, because they came out and kind of put the second behind them and played a much better period. But just 4 or 5 minutes in, the Wild got the go-ahead goal to make it 4-3, and despite the Leafs' best efforts pulling the goalie with a fair amount of time left and a lot of chances, they just couldn't do it, and they ended up losing the game 4-3. It wasn't their best game of the year, but when you look at the stat sheet, other than that awful second period, like, they kind of dominated Minnesota in every facet of the game. The stats were really tilted in their favor. The power play let them down, went 0 for 4. Hutchison, who they traded to get from Florida after Freddie's injury came all about. He got the start because Sparks went under concussion protocol for some reason. So they had to give Hutchison kind of a surprise start, and he hadn't even met any of the guys or anything yet, so he just kind of got thrown in there to the Wolves. And he actually had a really good game, especially the first period. He made some really key saves. He did have one weak goal against that went through his legs, but other than that, he was great, and he really held them in it and gave them a chance to win, but they just couldn't get it done. So other than that, it was one of those games. Maybe should have won, but didn't, and it'll all even out. And they're due for a couple of big wins after kind of this kind of down skid against Minnesota and the Islanders. Before that was not a great game, and I have no doubt they'll turn it around soon enough. But yeah, that was it. But a cool kind of game with the next gen thing, and the matinee was being so different. You're so used to 7 o'clock or 7:30 games. The matinees are really different. And I'm not going to tell you that I watched it somehow, even though I was at work, but we'll just leave it at that. So, but I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. The Leafs have Vancouver in town, and I hate the Canucks with every ounce of my soul. So I'm hoping the turnaround game is this one, in that it is a massive turnaround, and it's a beatdown. So now, fingers crossed. You never know, but we'll find out. Have a good night.